terrorist problem?
Muslims have a terrorist problem.
Correct.
It's like when you say Islam has a Muslim problem, when you say Judaism has a Muslim problem. All right? A lot of Muslims are assholes, and they're doing horrible stuff, and I do not feel the need to defend those people because those people don't represent me. The thing is...
Oh yeah, I mean, like I don't do this thing where every single time I have a conversation with a white person, I ask them if they condemn the Crusades. Like before they're allowed to have an opinion on anything, I just like, well, excuse me, have you condemned the Crusades? The Inquisition. Have you condemned the Inquisition today? Have you done that? No? Oh, have you condemned the colonization of North America? The genocide of indigenous people today? Have you done that? Well, then what are we talking about? Do you condemn slavery?
Put the Quran down. Actually start living by the words that the Quran says, not some false...
Wow, this one got pretty fucking Sam Harris straight out of the gates, eh? Getting some Dawkins vibes. Yeah, definitely. As you know, it's just so much more lovely to hear the sounds of the church bell in the morning than those brutes saying Allahu Akbar. Oh, yes. It's not about race. It's not a race. It's a religion.
Equivalent of what they think is actually going on there. You talk about the genocide in Israel or in Gaza as if it's just a matter of fact. Well, let me show some stats for you, because after you see these stats, Israel's the worst genociders ever. The numbers, according to the world data, if you trust data, between 1990 and 2022, the Palestinian population overall went from 2 million to 5 million.
Right on the gates. So to demonstrate genocide, by the way, and this is probably a good thing, hear me out. You don't need the people who have been genocided to have been genocided. We can try and prevent a genocide from occurring, which is why it's not simply saying, I say genocide, and just words have no meaning. There's an actual article in the UN Convention that actually speaks directly towards whether or not a country has genocidal intent, and if they're demonstrating the genocidal intent and then acting upon it in a variety of different ways, including moving members from one group forcibly to another location, taking the children of members, trying to eliminate in part or in whole. See, you notice how the wording specifically says in part or in whole? Probably important.
Okay? Pretty bad at genocide if that's what's happening right there. In Gaza, it went from 645,000 to 2.1 million. It's 3x. That ain't genocide to me. Now, to 20,000 people, 30,000 people
do the math,
needlessly killed during this bullshit war that was started by Hamas, is that horrible? 1,000,000%. And any Jew or any Israeli...
Give me that number again. 600,000 to what?
645,000 to 2.1 million.
From what to, from when to where?
This is in 1990 to 2022.
Do you know why they increased?
Because they're having babies like crazy.
No. You see, this is how like when you watch data while being uninformed makes you look very stupid.
Tell me why. Tell me how the population has gone from 2 million to 5 million.
Yeah, because most of the 1.5 extra million didn't come from Gaza. They were pushed away from other parts of Israel. So most of these people, they have increased because of refugees being kicked out.
If you're talking about the settlers, those are tens of thousands. Stop
I'm talking about
those aren't millions of people.
He's not talking about settlers. What do you?
My wife's family is not from Gaza, and yet they found themselves in Gaza because they were sitting in other cities and villages outside Gaza. This is the systemic pushing of people from other parts of Israel, pushing them to Gaza.
That's not millions of people. This is why I said that you're intellectually dishonest or intellectually lazy.
No.
Wow. It took him like 2 seconds. Like it's like, sorry, give me the number. Oh, that's your argument? Oh, okay. So that's dumb.
It's not the cause of millions of people being moved. I'm familiar with the settler stuff and the disengagement in 2006.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No.
These are people
millions of people.
Okay. The people who belong to Gaza are 700,000 people. Right now, Gaza is 2.2 million. That is not birth rate, my friend. These are people pushed from, and by the way, that's not the first time. 1948, at the night of the declaration of the State of Israel, 1.5 million Palestinians were like moved overnight. So it's not the first thing. So before you giving me numbers you want to appear smart, know what are behind the numbers, because these are not people giving baby.
I am so happy someone said this to the right's face. I have seen so many people, including like all these major pundits, post pictures and be like, well, actually, like Dave Rubin, he's like, doesn't look like genocide to me. Look, the birth rates go up. And then obviously like lots of the replies are like, well, this is actually forced migration in large part. Did you not know that? Like, have you heard about how a lot of people who actually live on the Gaza Strip, actually either them or their families ended up there? But I just thought like people would just be able to discount that forever and either ignore it or delete it or mute it or block it or just be like, blah. No, can't be bad because number go up.
Okay.
These are people being pushed from other places in order to be part of the open air prison that it is.
Okay, so then,
so it's not deliberate.
If you want to fact check me, let me fact check you. Anytime that there's numbers increasing, Bassem, going from...
Oh my God, your defense of everything he just educated you on, or this line go up. He's doing line go up. Oh, you want to fact check me? Look, bro, hey, more. Like higher number. Yeah, bro. Explain that. I just did.
650, 450, whatever you want to call it, to 2 million, however it happens, that's the exact opposite of a genocide. So the whole genocide, the whole open air prison...
He didn't listen to a word he said. He was like, oh, so if you think that's just like, I don't know, improved economic conditions as a result of like, you know, Israeli, not blockade, blockade bad, no exists, like gone, negative, like they've actually allowed for just the free flow of a whole bunch of goods, services, food, water, electricity, fuel. It's actually been the opposite of what everyone thought. Yeah, so instead of things becoming more and more difficult or it being some kind of like an open air prison, it's number go up. Look at line. This is line. You see line, right?
A lazy way to talk to people.
It's kind of like your thing.
What did I tell you that is so lazy? What did I tell you like you're fucking racist?
Because you've already said that multiple times.
No, I didn't say.
Yeah, you did. You said that multiple times.
I said your undertone is racist. No, that's not what.
So not me.
I'll be honest. I'd say it. It's just a really wild and racist way to look at this entire thing. Be like, well, you cannot demonstrate genocidal intent if line go up. I saw the line. The line did go up.
But what's going on inside of me?
And someone like the way that you analyze numbers is very lazy, because again,
really, when I actually use stats and data from the most credible sources, that's lazy.
These are numbers that were outside of Gaza.
You've said no stats. You've given fucking opinions
like
the whole time.
That California has increased triple, or this has people in Texas increased because of birth rate. No, they increased because people from California started moving voluntarily. You have pushed 1.5 million people outside of Gaza, inside of Gaza in a matter of 12 years, and that's why the number has inflated. It's not because they were giving birth rate.
So then where's the genocide?
They were evacuated.
Where's this alleged genocide happening?
That's happening right now under your eyes.
So as of 3 months ago, there was no genocide.
This is a lot more serious than I've seen Bassem be in these kind of encounters. I wonder if he was fully aware of how far right this podcast was, being that, like, I'm sure big invitation told to, like, you know, his manager or his producer or his agent, hey, by the way, very massive, huge numbers, you know, they're very well listened to, but they're most likely going to be confrontational.
So it's just a new
we didn't actually use the word genocide before 3 months ago.
Okay, but you've been calling for the river for the sea.
We didn't use it
for decades.
Well,
are you just saying all of the talking points? And another thing, I hate watermelons. I'm not talking about the use of watermelons to represent, say, like the Palestinian flag. And I just mean I hate them. They're not as delicious as they kind of mid in terms of melon.
Also Israel.
That's me doing a bit. I fucking love watermelon. I'm such a massive fan of watermelon. It's probably my favorite melon. Yes, I would go as far as saying so. My favorite melon of all. If I was to rank melons, #1.
Have a lot of maps that is putting in the greater Israel from the Nile and the Euphrates. That's genocide for 5 countries there. And this is not by people in the street or people on YouTube. These are ministers. These are officials in the official government of Netanyahu. If you have someone, an Arab president, like the Egyptian president or the Jordanian king, tell you from the river and the sea, it's like, oh, it's the Arab authorities. You are basically complaining people on Facebook and the official viewpoint of the Israeli government. You're basically basically comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't make any sense. You're basically comparing activists with people with power, with money, and with weapons. So I don't know how come you're comparing
So
them.
what's your solution? Because you got all these answers and we have no solutions. What's your solution?
Just
I mean, you're what, 5 minutes into this conversation? I think it's very lofty to be like, well, I'm kind of drowning here, floundering, if you will, just throwing anything at the wall, seeing what sticks. None of it has yet. I'm not doing great. Well, you know what? Your problem is you offer nothing at all. That's right.
this. Stop killing people and give them back their land. That's it.
Okay.
And giving them back
Lex.
the land, that is going to be a much more complicated thing.
Who's going to lead your negotiations? Mahmoud Abbas, 88 years old?
I have no idea, man.
No, but
I have no idea.
He's a comedian, by the way. Yeah. No, he's not the president of the Palestinians. That's not. Oh, did someone tell you different? Is that what you thought? All Palestinians.
Well,
he controls the West Bank. He controls Gaza. He's got it all, baby.
When I say I have no idea, I'm being humble, because there's a million people who can do it. But like, I'm not a politician. I'm a comedian. I come here to tell some of my opinions. But the thing is, you want to put me and you use that and you give me, I'm sorry to say, butchered political information and numbers that doesn't say anything.
Stats are really butchered in political vision. But it's interesting how you have all the solutions for Israel, but you have no solutions for Gaza or Hamas. Very interesting. Very interesting how you can critique everything that's going on in Israel. Yes, they do have some things they need to rectify, just like the United States, just like any democracy. You've got all the answers there, Bassem. When I said, what do they do over here in Gaza? What do they do? I have no idea. I'm just a comedian. Don't listen to me. So which one is it? You either know your shit or you're actually just...
So what was your question? What's the solution for
what's
Israel?
the solution
I said the Israel
for
take
Gaza?
back the land. For Gaza, how about you stop the killing and then we can talk?
Okay, so let's say we do that.
Okay.
So here's what I believe. I think we need to demilitarize Gaza. We need to de-radicalize, because they're the leading.
How are you going to deregulate? How do you do that?
Well, maybe let's stop.
So how about
let's stop summer schools where they teach about jihad.
Hamas is more popular now in polling data in the Gaza Strip, most likely because if you happen to be a population who is being forcibly starved and you're watching children explode all around you by the thousands, by the way, you're most likely going to be like, well, what is the resistance force available? What do we do? Help us, world. And the world's like, we can't. We got to sit back. We got to witness the carnage, the horrors, the atrocities, and do absolutely nothing to stop it, and just watch it in real time, every day in our homes. We're going to sit back and we'll see the worst of it. Yeah, all that video footage you upload of like babies exploding, their limbs falling off, just crying, the trauma, the PTSD, it's giving us kind of collective PTSD too, secondhand. We're just seeing this all around. I didn't want to see this. I didn't want to know this was happening, let alone fucking allowing it to happen and funneling money and weapons and bombs and support. Like, we're not even looking at the country that is doing this in any way, shape, or form as somehow one in which we shouldn't have relationships with, you know? Like, normally that would be like, oh, so we shouldn't ally with that country. They're doing really, really bad things right now. Let's end all diplomatic relations. Maybe we should impose embargoes on the country that is committing the mass slaughter right now, trying to stop and discourage that mass slaughter. We should divest from you know, doing business with that country, either supporting companies and corporations that make goods and services in there, especially one that are made under an apartheid system or regime that exploits the labor of an underclass of people simply for their religion. You know, that's not a good thing. We shouldn't be supporting any of this.
And they start playing football and soccer.
How about the religious schools in Israel that actually tell people that we should kill all Arabs? And these videos are
you know all those Jews that are running around bombing everywhere around the world? No, it doesn't fucking exist.
Oh,
it's
really?
only in Islam.
Oh, really? But what about the Jews killing the Palestinians inside?
I'm talking about around the world. If I said there was
we're bad people.
Okay. A lot of things going on here. He's obviously got this worldview that the world is being effectively, you know, terrorized on a pretty regular basis globally by obviously radical Islamic jihadists, and that there's not to say that radical Islamic jihadists don't exist, as do religious extremists capable of violence, mass violence. But to suddenly say that, like, hey, by the way, you don't see Jewish people doing that. Well, when you frame it that way, when you start doing that, now you're starting to put and pit again groups of individuals, perhaps united by their religion or their ethnicity, against one another, which is really fucked up to do. You know, the Lindsey Graham of it all, like, we're in a holy war. Yeah, I can't wait to participate from my bedroom. You know, like, it's like, well, yeah, obviously this stuff is all just a game to most people who don't give two fucks about it and think of the world in these kind of terms. But again, why do it?
We're bad people. Take us out.
That's not what I'm saying.
No. We're very hot.
Okay, what I'm saying is
they need
to.
Religion. We are a terrorist religion. Take it out.
You said it. Your
Let's
words.
do it.
You
Yeah,
said it.
let's
Your
do
words.
It. Yeah.
Your words.
Let's do it. I mean, like,
your words.
This is like you have a really interesting outlook for people who look like me. You look at me and I'm Muslim, and you have all of these assumptions about me being a terrorist, while Islam is not a terrorist.
You said the words, Bassem. I didn't say those words.
You know what's the difference between Islam and terrorists? They go on like some rogue groups and they kill and they do shitty stuff. But you have like a whole country with a whole military arsenal who is committing terrorism every single day, backed up by the US.
There it is. There's your Israel talking.
Yeah.
Israel
I'm gonna talk it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Totally
that's
cool.
My opinion.
I don't understand how what why is that like a talking point? I think it's really fucked up to continuously associate, by the way, again, entire groups of people with the actions of what a country is doing, right? Like, you always see Americans trying to associate all Muslims with these, extremists. Ben Shapiro, for example, he'll constantly tell you about the myth of the radical Muslim minority. And then you need a Batman to come along every now and then, like a Ben Affleck, and then sit down beside a Sam Harris and be like, if this was true, if the majority of Muslims wanted to kill white people or non-Muslims, we'd all be fucked, because there's a lot of them. There's the billions. Yeah, there's a lot of Muslims in the world. If they wanted to kill all the non-Muslims, we'd be dead. If their entire reason for existing was kill all non-believers, as you always say, then yeah, I figured there'd be a lot more mass death at the hands of a lot of Muslims. But it's really fucked up to associate, say, the actions of a radical terrorist organization with all Muslims, just like it is to associate all Jewish people with what the Israeli government is doing, because the Israeli government is committing atrocities and war crimes on a monstrously huge scale. That's not Jewish people doing this. Oh yes, this is something inherent to Judaism that is making them all do this. You can say that, like, religious fanaticism and extremism in any of its forms can take very violent, can create violent realities in the world. That is true, absolutely, and we should condemn it, and we should be calling out extremism of all its forms. But we should also not associate all people in that group as somehow being inherently, every single Muslim is just a radical Islamic jihadist waiting to be a cell, waiting to be activated. Every single one of them, at any given time. It'd be like saying all Christians are the Westboro Baptist Church. Absolutely. Or the Crusades, like, if I hang out with a person and I'm like, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm not like, oh, going to apply me to the rack, are you? Going to hold candles under my nipples until I confess? I never will, haha. No, I don't think that you're secretly trying to feed me pork in order to oust whether or not I'm worthy of being tortured to death. I'm pretty sure you just believe in Jesus and the love of Jesus and the Christ and all that kind of, I'm going to assume, right? Or maybe your family it's a way for you to get close to your family. You enjoy hanging out. Like, I just don't by default assume it's going to be some fire and brimstone stuff. There are people out there who are fire and brimstone, and there are extremists, Christian nationalists, if you will, and they are a massive danger, a huge danger. Christian nationalist extremists, especially in the United States, are a danger to the entire planet, to humanity as a whole. The way some of these motherfuckers talk about the end days and that they want to usher in the end times, and then pull other people in other religions and hijack their shit in order to do their own sick perversions themselves. Like, I'm sorry, but I want humanity to live. I don't want this, like, apocalyptic second coming where all of a sudden we're going to see revelations come to pass. That sounds horrifying. And again, it's from books that were written a very long time ago. I don't think we should be using them as moral compasses. Don't get me wrong. I used to be an edgy atheist. I used to read, and I like carnivorously so much fucking Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens was my man. He was my boy. I loved his shit. I liked how cocky and funny and sarcastic he was. I loved just watching him rip into people that I saw as utter and complete ghouls, which I still do in large part, by the way. The Catholic Church specifically specifically. Maybe it's, you know, just the indigenous in me, but I've always been a huge hatred of the Catholic Church and just the way that they've treated different and for various groups of people, from, you know, homosexuals to you know, Native Americans throughout history. They've been real shitty and fucked up, and then they've been massive pedos themselves. So like, I'm not a big fan of them. So to see, you know, Christopher Hitchens destroy the Catholic Church, it was fucking awesome. Like, it's fucking, oh yeah, man, this guy, intellectual titan that is Christopher Hitchens. Then 9/11 happens. Then all of a sudden this whole heel turn begins, and then he becomes a neocon, radicalized, and he starts switching from being like, well, yes, Christian fundamentalists are scary. But the real scary is the Quran. The Quran is the worst of the worst. It radicalizes people in a way that we've never seen before, and it turns them into just absolute animals, barbarous fiends of inferior civilization. And then we need to bring them to heel. We need to be able to make sure that we maintain a global order. They're trying to destroy it with all of their suicide bombs and 9/11s and stuff like that. So we need to be able to make sure that a UK-US led alliance that may invade a handful of other countries is necessary to preserve democracy throughout the world.
To tell me that
I was
Islam
like,
doesn't have a
fucked.
terrorist problem?
Muslims have a terrorist problem.
Correct.
It's like when you say Islam has a Muslim problem, when you say Judaism has a Muslim problem. All right, a lot of Muslims are assholes, and they're doing horrible stuff. And I do not feel the need to defend those people because those people don't represent me. The thing is,
oh yeah, I mean, like, I don't do this thing where every single time I have a conversation with a white person, I ask them if they condemn the Crusades. Like, before they're allowed to have an opinion on anything, I just like, well, excuse me, have you condemned the Crusades? The Inquisition. Have you condemned the Inquisition today? Have you done that? No? Oh, have you condemned the colonization of North America? The genocide of indigenous people today? Have you done that? Well, then what are we talking about? Do you condemn slavery? Slavery. No, I know you didn't participate in it. I know you didn't own slaves. You're not a plantation owner. I know it's illegal now. But do you condemn it? Do you condemn it? And all those fucking slave-owning whites, do you condemn them? Well, I mean, until you do, I don't think we can have a conversation about anything. How are you a moral authority on anything unless you're willing to condemn and call out all of the slave owners?
because my family lives there.
But my family's in Israel.
Really?
So only your family counts, my family doesn't count?
No, okay, but like, did your family are live in an open-air prison and being killed every day?
The open-air prison, the genocide. Get them,
you see how you're
get some new talking points.
You see how
open-air prison.
Only talking point.
Israel left Gaza in 2006.
It didn't leave. It left and it put it under blockade.
It's called a disengagement. Why did they have a blockade?
I feel like he's having a debate with Wikipedia, but it's like in real time, as in like he's reading step by step. He's like, well, yeah, but Israel officially left, right? And it's like, well, so if you were to take this on face value, we have to look at the fact that there are numerous organizations, including Human Rights Watch, the UN, Amnesty International, who have said that in its efficacy, Israel has continued to control the flow of water, fuel, electricity, food. You know how I know this? Because they were able of cutting it all off instantaneously when they wanted to. Post like October 9th or 10th, when they announced that they were going to cut them off again from all food, fuel, medical supplies. The fact that a lot of it has to come in through international organizations, of which Israel directly controls whether or not they are able to enter or leave the country. So we saw them. The fact that they could do that means, yes, that they in fact were doing that. That, yes, 100%.
Maybe because they're shooting missiles hundreds of times a day. Yeah, I'd pretty much put a country in a blockade if they were shooting missiles every single day.
You cut them from the sea, you cut them from the water. It's like, okay, go live. How do you do that?
Let's move on from Israel because I know you're hyper obsessed with it. Why?
I'm not hyper.
I haven't heard it. He's like, I don't think you brought it up once in this conversation yet in terms of like, I need to talk about Israel more. Can we get back to Israel?
You keep asking me about Israel.
No, I ask you about the world, and I'm asking you about Christianity and Muslims and Judaism. You want to focus on Israel. Why can Muslims move to any Christian country they want, but Christians and Jews can move to 0 Muslim countries? Why is that?
What about Dubai? What about...
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's not factually true, but it's also just such a random, like, who do you think you're talking to? I'm not the president of Muslims. Sorry, did you think you were talking to the CEO of Muslims? Oh, yeah, no, that's not me. No, you got the wrong guy.
Ask it again.
What about all of these countries? What are you talking about?
You mean the country?
You just mentioned
yeah, no, he's not the Pope of Muslims. I know. I assumed that as well at first. Not true.
And all of there's like
the Archpope of Islam.
This is my point, and I'm glad you're catching on.
Yeah.
That I'm not racist. I'm pointing out.
Well, they are Christians.
I'm sorry. How do you make a statement like that and then immediately respond with, "Oh, so you realize, right? What? That I'm not racist." You've just been saying some of the most racist shit that I've heard to my face in a long ass time, though. It's the only point okay, so you, as a brown guy, what do you say about the fact that Muslims can go to any Christian country they want to at any given time and they're treated like gods, royalty? What do you say about that? You're the CEO of Muslims, right? By the way, I'm not a racist. You realize that, right? So you see that I'm not a racist. You get it.
In countries who like shit, I wouldn't lose that because of the economy.
I'm pointing out that in certain Muslim countries, they're getting it right. Or at least attempting to.
Good for them.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, good for them. Good for Qatar. Good for UAE. Good for Saudi and what MBS is doing.
Wait, what are you talking about? These are countries that have incredibly high human rights violations and tons of fucked up shit takes place in them. We got to see this firsthand once Qatar was obviously being asked to host, major sporting events like soccer. All of a sudden, football, sorry. Don't come at me, Europeans. Don't want to get in trouble here. But obviously the working conditions that led to the rapid building of a lot of stadiums and the mass death that occurred as a result of having so many people working in very, very high temperatures and very difficult situations, especially immigrants who come to the country specifically because, hey, here's an opportunity. We're going to be hiring thousands of people. It's going to be backbreaking manual labor. Some people will die. Many of you, actually. Thousands of you may die from this. But at the end of the day, it's going to be for the world stage to be able to see some incredible, awesome, but like, in what way is it suddenly like, well, these countries, they figured it out. They got it right. Good for you, Muslims. You did it. You got a country operational.
For them, they're examples of what could be done. Gaza, if they took the billions of government of international aid.
Indonesia is 87% Islamic. Indonesia, a lot of people sometimes don't know this, is the largest, it's got the largest amount of Muslims in the entire world. But again, it's just like, it's so fucked up to continuously associate an entirety of either a religious or an ethnic group of people with the actions of one, radical Islamic, terrorist organization or one country that is committing a whole bunch of vile atrocities. Or to say like, hey, by the way, you Muslims, you're normally kind of like barbarous and behind and you're like inferior to Western civilization. Well, in this case, you kind of got it right. We're good allies with, what's that? Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is doing okay. And it's like, well, that's actually like a brutal monarchy dictatorship that's taking place in that country, but it's also a very strategic ally and a large customer of the United States. Probably, their biggest customer for arms sales. They're the biggest customer for weapons, about sometimes $20 to $25 billion in arms sales from the United States to Saudi Arabia. But it's weird to frame it that way, right? Racist?
Could be Dubai, but they decided to make a terror state. So the question that I'm asking is...
are you saying that there's so many money coming in and just like Hamas used it in order to make weapons?
There's people of Hamas who are literal billionaires living in Qatar, flying around on private jets. How do you explain that?
They're horrible people and I don't condone them. All right.
Okay.
I'm talking about the million.
Oh, so yeah, he didn't know. He doesn't endorse Hamas. He's not Team Hamas. No. I mean, Piers Morgan already pointed this out because Piers Morgan has this thing where he's like, well, now's my opportunity to be in to see whether or not you condemn. Say it. Say you condemn Hamas. Jeremy Corbyn couldn't say it. He destroyed Jeremy Corbyn in the marketplace of ideas. For a solid 15 minutes straight, they just went in circles where he was like, do you condemn Hamas? And then Jeremy Corbyn's like, why are you asking me this question? And he's like, well, do you condemn Hamas? 15 minutes. Riveting.
Of people, Gaza,
but horrible people, Hamas. Let's not talk about that. We'll move on. But Israel, let me give you a dissertation over here.
Like,
I'm trying to give you some.
You're just like shouting over me.
I'm not.
To make
because every time I'm talking,
you are basically going around all of the stuff that's happening with Muslim people that is bad, and then basically what you're doing is you are undertoning. You are trying to find an excuse to keep that killing in Gaza continue because Muslims are bad, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are poor. So let's just like kill those people in Gaza.
You are
this is exactly what you're doing.
Intellectually lazy. It's comical because I'm not even talking about Gaza.
You keep insulting.
I was like, that's not. None of these are arguments. You just keep getting like he'll be like, okay, so hey, Bassem, you don't understand. Look at this. You say there's a genocide, but I want to show you something. And now this is. I'm sorry. This is just if it's to believe. These are statistics and data. Look at this. Line go up. The population goes up. So genocide did not happen. And it's like, Well, what you're looking at is actually the forced migration of a lot of people as they've been forced into a small concentration of land in the Gaza Strip. And it's like, yeah, this is not a refutation of whether or not a country, a nation, is demonstrating genocidal intent. That's not an argument, right? What? And then that'll be met with like, yeah, you're intellectually fucking vacuous. Didn't know I was going to be speaking to the dustbin of ideas today.
You
We're
keep
gonna
insulting me
wrap up.
Because I'm trying.
Because she's like, you are a motherfucking racist. You know, like you. How
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you can only refute the talking points so many times. There's only so many times when you can be like, oh, okay, so you're factually incorrect. You're just wrong. You're misrepresenting what the data demonstrates. This is actually a bad thing. Like, if you are being forcibly pushed into a smaller and smaller concentration of area, and that area is under a blockade, that blockade has been controlled by another nation that is doing a system of apartheid between. So this is internationally recognized information. This is not a secret or anything. This is something that both the United Nations, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, they've all been calling this out, documenting it, and this is something that is generally accepted by other nations around the world. The exceptions to it being countries like the United States that have a very, very strong geostrategic tie with Israel. But otherwise, no, I'm not being controversial. Okay, so if you're just going to now state that I have to represent and speak for all Muslims, again, like as if I am the CEO of all Muslims, of all Islam, that's kind of weird, kind of racist for you to keep going back to this as a talking point.
That's racist. I'm saying that
Everything
there's.
that you say about race is the way that you speak about Muslims, that we are terrorists and we are horrible people. Basically, you're telling people that we deserve to die.
Bassem
And Israel
Youssef.
has everything to do in order to kill those people. Anyways,
I've said zero of those words.
Hopefully, if
You were putting all those words in my mouth. I've said zero of those
If my wife's cousin,
words.
who's a doctor, get killed tomorrow, I'm going to send you a postcard.
So if my actual cousin gets killed in Israel,
They
that's
will not-
okay.
They will not, because
That's
you know
okay.
what? They are safe because he is not living in an open air
Oh,
prison.
why are they safe? Maybe because they have the Israeli Defense Force, the Iron Dome that
Good for
stops
you. Good for you.
all the missiles.
They don't have that.
Yeah.
Are you taunting an oppressed people? Is that it? Like, yes, you can totally point out the fact that Hamas does fire a lot of missiles into Israel. Those missiles are not simply tests. They are trying to impact damage. They are trying to hit targets, and the majority of them are shot out from the Iron Dome, a weapon system provided by the United States that allows for people in Israel to live in relatively, by the way, I'm not saying that there's not a huge amount of fear and that there's not a huge amount of PTSD trauma that can come from being attacked or have strikes against your people be a regular part of everyday life. But if you were to compare and contrast the two situations, there's absolutely no argument there whatsoever. The true living conditions. I mean, you have but to look at the TikToks or the Instagram videos of people who are living in what looks to be comfortable, affluent Western conditions, and people who are being bombed to death. Like people who are being wiped off the face of the earth right now. This is a totally disproportionate amount of power that is being enacted upon a population of half kids.
Yeah, but
They don't have that.
Maybe you should have built that instead of tunnels.
With what?
With all the billions of foreign aid that was given.
Maybe you should have. First off, he immigrated from Egypt and he has family that comes from Palestine. He is now an American. Why do you keep saying you? Like, you Muslim. Why didn't you do this when you were working for Hamas? I never said that you were working for Hamas. Well, okay, I implied that directly by the way that I phrased that last sentence. But I'm not a racist. You get that, right? I'm not saying the racist things that you're saying.
Well, in what billion foreign aid are you? These,
How much money does Iran give? How much money does Qatar give? How much does the international community?
Yeah, he didn't build the tunnels,
through Israel. You understand that Israel is actually holding
your
that tax
argument
money
holds
from,
no weight because all you're doing is defending Hamas. You have zero argument.
You get that I'm not a racist though, right? But you are the CEO of Hamas, obviously. And why didn't you build an Iron Dome, bro, instead of all the tunnels, bro? Why'd you do that? Should have built an Iron Dome, stupid.
I'm the last one to defend Hamas, by the way. And I've actually said the terrorist group, and I'm a big fan of Hamas. But I'm just giving you some facts. Every single money that goes into Gaza goes through Israel. As a matter of fact, Biden has a big problem with Netanyahu because he's withholding the tax money that paid by the Palestinian people to the Palestinian Authority, and Netanyahu is holding it back. Have you heard about that? Have you read about that? Just 2 days ago, if you're reading your stuff, but you don't. But the thing is, Netanyahu is holding back the tax money from the Palestinian in West Bank, and he's not giving it to
so funny, man. You're so funny.
No, you're just so ignorant.
You're saying all the money that's going to Hamas is coming through Israel? Sure.
Filtered through Israel.
Sure. All the money.
Filtered through Israel.
Yeah, all the money from Iran going right through Israel. Sure. That's likely.
I'm sorry, is this a bit of a Jamie moment? Where you're like, all right, let's put that article up on there.
Money from Qatar.
He's actually referencing something that's true.
By Netanyahu in 2019, the Likud party, telling them that he is actually overlooking the amount of money coming from Qatar, and he is doing that in order to split the Palestinian Authority. Listen to...
But, like, honestly, if this was being done in the opposite direction, I would be calling out, like, the racism of, like, you know, talking to a Jewish person and being like, hey, you're a Jew, so everything that Israel is doing, how do you justify it? Huh? Jewish person? What do you think about it? But like, why are you associating me with what Israel is doing? It's like, yeah, way to really kill all those babies. Like, I'm not I'm from Brooklyn. Like, I'm not a part of that. What are you saying? That would be incredibly racist and offensive. That's what's being done right now to Bassem Youssef. He's being repeatedly asked, like, can you explain this? Why would Hamas do this? Why didn't you build an Iron Dome? He's not a part of Hamas. He doesn't have any say in this whatsoever. He lives in America. He's a comedian. He does comedy shows, stand-up, if you will.
I'm familiar with this. I'm not disagreeing with...
How about you listen, educate yourself about that.
I'm not disagreeing that Netanyahu has done some fucked up things.
Here it is.
Okay?
Here it is. Oh my God, here it is.
Biden is...
I'm putting this up on Twitter. I don't think enough people have enjoyed this as I just got to. These are great moments, okay? From the opening sequence where he's like, yeah, how do you explain this? Look at this. You say apparently, you, leader of Hamas, there's a genocide going down. Look, line go up. Oh yeah, so actually, what you're looking at, this is forced migration. This has been the forced migration. Have you heard of the Nakba, in which 700,000 people were forcibly moved into different regions of like that's how a lot of the people who currently are either direct descendants or living members who underwent that are staying in the Gaza Strip. They've been forcibly pushed into a very small area, a small piece of land. That's why their population is so dense there. That's why there's 2.2 million people, half of whom are children. And again, living in conditions in which a lot of other parts of the world would probably take a look at this and be like, oof, wow, that's fucked up. We should be directly supporting this, but we do. And they control the flow, yes, of all the resources that go in and out of that region. There's a blockade on the water, the fuel, the medical supplies. Like, there's a reason why a lot of cars in that area actually had to convert to canola oil to be able to run them, because they were trying to come up with other ways of still having society function. And again, a lot of people need food, fuel, hospitals need to run. It's not as if there's like lying down and dying. They're trying to make do with what they have, but that is being exacerbated extensively by the West. This part too, I like when he's like, oh, this is an actual thing that's happening if you're unaware of it. And then they put it up on screen, then it went away. And then for a while, he's just like, oh, sure, likely story, Biden frustrated, yeah, with the Palestinian tax revenue issue.
And frustrating told Bibi to solve Palestinian tax revenue issue?
Yeah, because Israel is withholding the taxes. You understand every single money
that's
transaction.
Your argument, right?
Build a dome, stupid.
No, that's one part of the argument. Every single money transaction, whether it's taxes, whether AIDS, it has to go through the Israeli government.
So all the money that Iran is funding Hamas, you're saying that goes through Israel? Is that what you're saying?
Through Qatar, through Israel.
Okay, that's so false. It's so flagrantly false.
I want you to educate yourself more.
Okay, I will. I'll go read up on this. But if you mean to tell me that Israel is intercepting the money that Iran is sending to Hamas and says, yeah, we'll send it to you guys, but believe me, they're not doing it.
By the way, it's 11:15. It's 11:15. We're going to wrap up. Here's what I will say. I'm going to be very honest with both of you guys. I mean, I've been listening to both of you guys, and I love this.
Fucking sickos for content. I tell ya. Oh yeah, you just gotta love when you're just sitting there. Hey, we've all done it. We've all done it. I've been on the same side where you're sitting there sometimes. And you're like, this is an absolute dumpster fire that I, in part, have allowed to take place. And my oh my, what beautiful flames I see before me.
This. Let me tell you why. The average American right now is...
Oh, yeah, just pure content brain. Doesn't matter how you dress it up, all right? You can take out a big old, like, fucking bottle of the sauce and then be like, you see, we need to be able to have these conversations. They're important, high-level ideas. The greatest ideas will rise to the top. We need to... we can't shut down discourse. The most important thing that happens is we keep talking. Not, like, end the genocide or anything. Just keep talking. Just talk. Produce that content. Like and subscribe. Hit that. Go. Oh, it's beautiful.
There's a
very pro-Israel who really supported Israel on 7th of October. Many of them are actually anti-Semitic, especially right-wing politicians, Matt Gaetz,
Christian nationalists,
and MTJ, and all of those people. Those people, they love Israel, but they hate the Jews. They're anti-Semite. It is very obvious, and this is why you see this dichotomy about how the Jewish Voices for Peace.
Look at the tweet. Oh yeah, it's from the official account about MLK using a quote once again. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King Jr. And yeah, it is a great response. The organization founded to carry on Dr. King's legacy called for ceasefire in October.
These are Jewish people in New York. They come in and they take over the central station, and they're all Jewish, and they say, not in my name. The whole idea is conflating Israel and with Judaism is wrong. And I think the most dangerous thing that can happen to the Jewish people of the world is to have Israel as their representative, because a lot of Jewish people don't like them to be their representatives, as many Muslims don't like some of those Islamic regimes representing them. This whole idea about making it's all or none now.
It's such a fucked up thing too, because it's Christian nationalists trying to hijack the identity and an entire people, an ethnicity and a religion, and try to hijack it for their own fucking goals, which are like apocalyptic.
Israel has actually done a lot of criminal activities that a lot of Jews do not agree upon. And a lot of the people who go out in New York, in Brooklyn, in Los Angeles, these are Jewish people shouting, not in my name. Many of those people are actually Holocaust survivors, like Gabor, who was like a very famous Holocaust survivor himself, and he say Israel is a Zionist, terrorist, apartheid country. So if you think like I'm saying this because of my Muslim or Arab background, listen to the other Jews. They're saying that Israel is the criminal here, and it's been supported time and time again by the EU, by American administration.
I don't know how long this went on. Bassem sounds like fucking burnt out. I imagine like, you know, pushing back against like, you know, further right-wing talking points that he's probably used to hearing on a regular basis outside of like just being called slurs.
I'm not asking for anything that is out of the box. I'm asking them to stop the killing, because let's say 7th of October, worst day ever.
Parker, thank you so much for the $5 dono. So I missed this earlier. When he cited the Gaza population earlier, conveniently, it only goes to 2022. Wonder if something happened in 2023 that made the population change. Well, you gotta stop the numbers before the line go down if you want the line to go up. That's how that works. It's a neat trick.
Okay. How many people are you going to continue to kill in order to get your revenge? Because it seems that you will not be able to eradicate Hamas. As a matter of fact, you can kill 100,000 people today. What you have created is 100,000 Hamas killers. No, this has never, Israel tried it before 2004 and it failed 2006 and failed 2009 and failed 2012, 2014, and every time Israel came in and they killed many people as possible and they came back. The solution for this is not more killing, more war. I know people like war solves everything. You will not be able to solve everything with war. The whole idea about this is to justice. If there's land to be given back, give back the land. If there is agreement to be done, do the agreement and sit together, because believe me, whatever cost you think is too high giving up land, it will not come close to the cost of human lives that we are losing every life, whether on the Jew side or the Muslim side or the Israeli side or the Arab side.
I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to pause it there, but I think I'll stop it there, because that whole sentiment, that just 3 minutes that they let him speak uninterrupted, was excellent. I completely agree with every single thing that he just said, and I think that's probably the most important point to take away, is that again, it is in and of itself anti-Semitic to associate every single Jewish person with the actions of a sovereign nation, as it is, Islamophobic to associate every single Muslim with the actions of a radical extremist or terrorist organization or terrorists themselves, as it is to associate every single Christian with the actions of, Christian warlords who recruit child soldiers and all these different groups around the world, or to associate every single, Christian with the Crusades or the Inquisition or that kind of stuff, right?
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.